Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. And a heavyweight news mashup video today, starting with Deontay Wilder, who has given his thoughts to Sky Sports on Anthony Joshua in the first fight in terms of body language from Joshua. So Wilder said, "I understand body language. I'm very smart when it comes to these things. What his body said in the ring showed me everything that I need to see. Only the fighter would know within himself. The secret is still to be told. And that's okay because you want to keep people guessing. Was it this or was it that? That's why the second fight is bigger. People don't know what to think. People will finally see what it really was. If he's not right and people are saying one thing but he does another, then people will have their own perception of what they think about him afterwards. People say if he loses, it's over. There is more pressure on him. When I talk about his situation, I feel drained. Trust me, I have a sixth sense." And trust me, I feel drained just reading Deontay Wilder's quotes out there because not all of it made a hell of a lot of sense. But yeah, Wilder touching on the body language issue. Obviously, there were a couple of things in that first fight, especially around the stoppage, that the body language wasn't good. It didn't look like Anthony Joshua was responding to the referee, and it looked like maybe he didn't want to continue, although he has disputed that publicly. And I guess every man and his dog has a view on the rematch, what's going to happen. Will it be repeat or revenge? But Deontay Wilder says, talking of Anthony Joshua and his situation, it drains him. Okay, make of that what you will. Moving on though, so also talking to Sky Sports, and this is encapsulated in a tweet that Michael Benson has put, a quote that Deontay Wilder made regarding Alexander Usyk, the undisputed cruiserweight champion who's moving up to heavyweight. He's having his first fight at heavyweight on October the 12th in Chicago against Tyrone Spong. So Wilder says of Usyk, "Usyk's no threat to me. He's too small for me. He'll do a lot of movement and stuff like that, but that doesn't faze me." So Wilder, just like Jarrell Miller, just like Dillian White, joining a whole host of heavyweights who are writing off Alexander Usyk before he even gets to heavyweight. And here, even though he's being written off by a lot of heavyweights at the moment, not a lot of guys are actually calling out Alexander Usyk and saying they are willing to fight him. So we'll have to see what happens against Spong in that first fight, because that will really get a lot of people talking about his potential ability to contend in the heavyweight division or otherwise. Moving on, so Dereck Chisora, as expected, has responded on social media to news of Joseph Parker pulling out of their scheduled fight for October the 26th. So Parker allegedly had a spider bite and has not been able to train. He's unwell. He is unable to continue with the fight on October the 26th. They are considering replacement options for Dereck Chisora right now. But on social media, and you can see here on screen, Chisora waving his finger at the camera and then obviously flexing here. And down the bottom here is a little animated chicken here. So the message is clear that Dereck Chisora believes that Joseph Parker is chicken and didn't want to face him. So in that clip, and you can't hear any of there's music in the background of the clip, but I'm not playing that for copyright reasons. No actual words, but the message is clear. Chisora not exactly happy with Parker. And I guess, you know, this card really did hinge on that fight. And they've named a number of options. You would have seen the previous video that I did, the 6 possible names that were thrown out by promoter Eddie Hearn, who's looking to salvage the card, and obviously for the financial viability for the pay-per-views and trying to really get a good result there. Threw out 6 names, and one of those names that was thrown out was Manuel Charr. And I think for a lot of boxing fans, not exactly the sort of fight that you'd want to see, even though Charr holds a regular title with the WBA, but he hasn't fought for 2 years. But he's actually blown off Dereck Chisora in a post on social media, saying, "Hello, dear box fans. There are many requests if I'm interested in boxing against Dereck Chisora. Basically, the interest already exists and also very much. Definitely in the future. I respect Chisora. He is a street fighter like me and accepts any challenge. Best regards, Del Boy." But this is about the WBA box rankings, and he's put them on the left-hand side of this post here. I am the reigning heavyweight world champion, and Dereck is not even listed in the top 15 in the rankings. For me, there is no need to fight against him now. First, I want to do my world champion fight either against Trevor Bryan, Michael Hunter, or my rematch against Alexander Povetkin. Then I want to fight against the winner from the rematch, AJ vs. AR. So Manuel Charr ruling out Dereck Chisora, and I guess that was one of those names that I sort of, in my previous video said I thought it was unlikely because he'd already announced the fight with Trevor Bryan. But given that he's thrown out some other names that he may face next, maybe that Trevor Bryan fight that's meant to be in November in Africa, maybe it's not as locked down as Manuel Charr had previously sort of publicized, saying that the fight was on for early November. But we'll see what happens there. But he is out of the running for Dereck Chisora. Someone who wants to be in the running for a Dereck Chisora fight, though, is Joey Daweko. So his promoter has told Boxing Scene, Joey wants the fight badly. It would be a great fight, and I hope Eddie agrees. And then further down the story here, he says, think about it. Joey is the American version of Dereck Chisora. It's the perfect fight. And when I read that, I was like, is he really the American version of Dereck Chisora? I don't believe that they're exactly on the same level. Chisora is around top 20. I think Daweko, maybe he's a top 50-ish fighter. He's a very good heavyweight, but I think Chisora is certainly a cut above. So I'm not sure that Daweko is really the American version of Dereck Chisora. And I actually think, and a few people have said this previously, Jarrell Miller might, in fact, when it's all said and done, be the American version of Dereck Chisora. But we'll need a few more years to see how that plays out. But a guy that has been named as a possible opponent for Dereck Chisora is Otto Wallin. So his manager, David Berlin, so not speaking specifically about that fight, he's spoken to Boxing Scene saying, we're open to all possibilities at this point. Otto showed that he's one of the top heavyweights in the division, and we're looking to keep his name in the mix for big fights and keep the momentum going. Otto is still getting better, so we're looking to continue his rapid development. If he can't get another big name next, then he'll continue to develop and improve against a worthy opponent while we wait for the best opportunity out there. We're going to allow him to rest for the remainder of 2019 and then fight in early in 2020. Otto is looking for the big fight, so we're looking forward to an exciting next year. So I guess, in a way, they're looking to rest him for the remainder of this year. That kind of would seemingly rule him out of a fight with Dereck Chisora, so maybe we can cross this one off the list, but maybe it also depends on money, because if they got an offer they couldn't refuse, maybe they would look to toss him in there with Dereck Chisora. And at the moment, Otto Wallin's value is probably as high as it's ever been in the heavyweight division, and he could capitalize financially on that. But if they wait a number of months, well, some of that momentum will sort of slip away to some extent. And I don't want to see Otto Wallin going back to facing the likes of BJ Flores and Nick Kisner and those sort of lower level fights, because they were doing nothing for Wallin. Okay, so moving on. So one of the few fights this weekend at any real level in the heavyweight division is between prospect Jermaine Franklin, or maybe he's a fringe contender, Jermaine Franklin, and also Pavel Sauer, who's got a record of 11-1. Heading into this fight, Franklin 19-0. His 20th fight looking to go 20-0 against Sauer. So this is on the Clarissa Shields undercard. They've had the press conference ahead of the fight, and there's a few comments here which I'll quickly go through. And you can see here on screen, I'm not going to go through all of this, but effectively he says he's looking to chop the body down. He's excited. This is the closest show he's had to home, yada, yada, yada. Pavel Sauer sort of saying, similar things, that he's happy to be here for his first fight in the US. Franklin is a strong fighter. He wants to go toe-to-toe, but I'm going to box him from distance and control the fight from start to finish. And actually, if Pavel Sauer is going to win this one, probably not a bad strategy. So you can see here, 11-1. He's 36 years old, 78-inch reach, which is only slightly longer than Franklin, who's listed at 77 inches in terms of reach. Franklin does have the height disadvantage of about 3 inches, and it kind of looked like more than 3 inches. Have a look at here. You can see on screen, this was the face-to-face. Franklin, maybe he's more like 6'1" rather than 6'2". But in terms of this fight, yeah, Jermaine Franklin needs to have a good showing, because the last couple of fights he hasn't necessarily looked tremendous. He's been talking himself up as the next biggest thing in the heavyweight division in terms of an American prospect coming up, and he believes he can be the next American heavyweight champion. But against Rydell Booker, against Jerry Forrest, those fights were probably closer than they should have been, given where he says he's at in his career. And arguably, for some, he lost that fight to Jerry Forrest. So he needs to come in here and really take care of business. And that one loss on Pavel Sauer's record is actually against Filip Hrgović. It was a first-round knockout. That was, I think, the second or third fight in Hrgovic's pro career. So in that context where, Sauer was being fed to a prospect early in a prospect's career, even though admittedly a highly touted prospect, it does sort of indicate that, he is only at a certain level. So for me, this feels like this should be a fight Jermaine Franklin should win, and win well, and probably by knockout. But if he doesn't, and if he struggles, and if he does sort of go life and death with Pavel Sauer, it will be another indication that maybe he can't take that next step in the heavyweight division. Right now, BoxRec lists him as the 16th best United States fighter, 64th in the world via their point system. And at the moment, I don't believe that Jermaine Franklin has done enough to prove that he is anything above a top 50 fighter at the moment. So the benefit of the doubt will only extend so far for Jermaine Franklin. Needs good performance. Anyway, we'll wrap it up there. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.